Hey guys, welcome to my labor and delivery story. I cannot believe we are here. I am finally back and I am so excited to share my labor and delivery story with you guys. So baby Emma is actually sleeping right over there. So I'm trying not to be too loud and hopefully she sleeps through this video. So I did keep track of everything that happened up into a certain point. So I'm hoping that my memory serves me right and I get things correct. I did ask my fiance as well to confirm certain events after a certain point because right over my head. So in my Erin Condren Life Planner, during early labor, I did keep track of things and wrote down kind of the daily events up until Emma was born. So let's get right into it. So Emma was born on November 20th at 1:03 p.m. and my labor started unofficially, I guess, on Monday. So that was, sorry, she's stirring. So Monday was 40 weeks and 2 days pregnant. So actually, sorry, let me go back. Sunday night, I was 40 weeks, 1 day pregnant, and I did get very mild contractions between 9:30 and 11:30 at night, like very mild, like not even half of what a period cramp is to me anyways. But I did take Gravel as I was directed to have a good night's sleep if they were real contractions, which I didn't know. So I wanted a good night's sleep just in case things were going to happen the next day. So I took a Gravel and went to bed, and I had a good sleep Sunday night. Monday, I had my midwife appointment. So that was 40 weeks and 2 days. And I saw her at 3 p.m. and I was really hoping to get a stretch and sweep done. She did check me and my cervix was still posterior. So that means that the cervix is like hiding in the back and it has to descend to the birth canal and dilate before you can have a child. So it was still posterior. So there was no way in heck that she could get her fingers in there and sweep around and do whatever. Wasn't gonna happen. So my stretch and sweep was unsuccessful, but she advised me to stick with lots of spicy food, have sex, walk around, and try evening primrose oil. So I can say that I tried spicy food, so every single meal for like however many days were spicy, and I tried the primrose oil. I didn't do anything else that day. So that night, Monday night, so 40 weeks and 2 days, I had about half the night had mild contractions. So I did the primrose oil in the evening that night. So I took one tablet or gel capsule thing orally, and then one I inserted vaginally. And what I did was I disinfected a needle and I pricked the capsule and then I inserted it in. So that evening I did get a slight bloody show and mild contractions, so something was happening that night. Tuesday, she's just rustling around, and of course she's gonna cry. Let's see if she settles herself back to sleep. 40 weeks, 3 days was Tuesday. I spoke to the midwife about the evening that passed. She said to continue the day as normal and let her know how things progress, if any progression at all. So I went to Costco and IKEA on Tuesday, walked around lots. I organized my front closet. So there was clear bins that I wanted to get from IKEA to organize the front closet, and I got all of that done on Tuesday. I was exhausted. By the evening, I did the primrose oil again, and my contractions were all night long, and that was mild to medium contractions. There was a lot of bloody discharge every 2 hours, so I was going to the bathroom every 2 hours to check on things, and there was always some kind of chunky discharge, either with blood or just mucousy. So I knew things were happening down there. I didn't know how quickly or how long it would be. I did end up using a heat pad that evening, not a lot, but I had a little bit of discomfort with the mild to medium contractions. On Wednesday, 40 weeks and 4 days, I had irregular contractions in the morning. So the evening went like on and off with the heat pad and contractions, and then they kind of followed me in the morning, but they were completely irregular. Like some would be between 10 minutes apart, and then some would be like half an hour apart. So they were completely all over the place. I spoke to my midwife. She advised just to take it easy today, because I guess she thought, you know, in the next couple of days I might go into labor, and that I should reserve my energy. So I took it easy, and I had contractions on and off all day. I decided not to use primrose oil that evening because things were progressing. So 6 p.m. to midnight that night, I had contractions about 30 to 40 seconds long, every 10 to 15 minutes. So I was like, okay, this is the start of something. I just knew it. And I had some lower back pain as well. And it wasn't like excruciating or anything. It was just like annoying, dull pain. So I took a hot bath and I went to bed. But I was up all night because they were uncomfortable. I had the heat pad. I was walking around. Yeah, the contractions were mild to medium still. Thursday, this is when things started to happen for real. Thursday, I was 40 weeks and 5 days pregnant. 6 a.m. I woke up. Well, I was kind of on and off sleeping all night. Like I didn't get a really good sleep. 6:30 a.m. I lost a big chunk of my mucus plug. I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like I'm going into labor. I thought it was like gonna happen in any minute then. But little did I know it's gonna take another day. But from 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., every 10 minutes-ish, I had mild to medium intensity contractions with some backaches. So she advised that I take a hot shower, and the contractions stopped for like an hour or two. So I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, okay, things were happening, and then they just stalled. But that was the only break I had from contractions until she was born. So that 1 to 2 hours, I guess, was a blessing in disguise. From 1:30 to 3:30 on the Thursday, I had 1 minute contractions, so they were picking up after the break, 15 to 25 minutes apart. So they were further apart than before, but they were more intense, and I definitely had a lot of backache. At 3:30, I lost another huge chunk of mucus plug. And I was thinking, okay, like that must be all of it, because like how much is there? But no, there was more to come out. There's a lot that comes out. From 4 to 6, 30 to 40 seconds long, my contractions were anywhere between 8 to 12 to 25 minutes apart. They were kind of all over the place, but they were intense. They were medium to strong intensity. So I was kind of grading my contractions by very mild, medium, strong, very strong. And that was the contractions app intensity level. Sorry, I keep scratching my chest here. She was sleeping on my chest and now it's a little irritated. Sorry. Anywho, that was the contraction app I used, and that is the scale of intensity they used. So it was still medium to strong intensity. And at that point, I wanted to call my midwife to let them know what was going on. So I did, and they advised that I do a non-stress test. So that evening, we went to the birth center and we met up with the midwife. Now, it was my baby midwife. So when you have midwives, you have two midwives. You have one for the mother and one for the baby. And then you have a backup midwife if your mother midwife is off call. So it was my baby midwife that met me for contractions because my midwife, the main midwife, was off call, and the backup midwife was actually at another birth. So the baby midwife met me there, and we did the non-stress test. Emma was okay, and it was confirmed that I was contracting on a regular basis. Now, the midwife suggested not to check for dilation at this point because she didn't want me to get discouraged. She knew I had been experiencing contractions for a long time and was in a little bit of pain, so she didn't want to discourage my progression by telling me I was only like 1 or 2 centimeters dilated. So we decided against checking for dilation and just going home and seeing how things went. So that's what I did. So I was awake all night long. So this is Thursday night, 40 weeks, 5 days, into Friday, which is 40 weeks, 6 days. And the contractions were getting more intense. They were getting closer together. I took hot baths and hot showers all night long. Like, I did not sleep one bit that night. I just kind of rotated between the heat pad, a hot bath, and a hot shower, and just kept doing that. And the whole time, overnight anyways, up until about 3:30-ish, I was losing blood. I was kind of freaking out, but apparently it's completely normal from the cervix, the capillaries breaking when the cervix dilates. So it was completely normal, but I was freaking out about that. So between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. on Friday, my contractions started to go between 2 to 5 minutes apart, 30 to 40 seconds long, and I was at this point sort of moaning through them. It was getting to the point where I had to stop what I was doing and concentrate on the contraction. I was swaying a lot, so I would put my arms on something like the refrigerator or something against the wall, and I would just sway my hips back and forth and just breathe through the contraction. I did a hot shower again on my lower back, and then this is when I knew things were getting real, because the shower, the heat, I had it on full and it was still hurting, and I was starting to moan, and I was like, okay, I have to call my midwife back. So I called her. When I was talking to her, I talked to her for about half an hour on the phone because she wanted to hear how I was feeling. I guess the noises a woman makes when she's in active labor is definitely not controllable, and you can tell how far along someone is by their personality and their mood and all of that. So I was starting to moan through them. I was getting a little aggravated. They were between 40 seconds and 1 minute long at this point, and they were 3 minutes apart. When I talked to the midwife, she was like, okay, I would like to check you for dilation at this point. Why don't you meet me at the clinic, and we'll see whether or not we'll go to the birth center or the hospital or send you back home. At this point, it was like 5:30, and I was saying to her, I cannot be sent home. I can't. Like, you just know that something is going to happen and you're in so much pain, and I was so tired, and I said, I want to go to the hospital. I'll meet you there and check for dilation, because if I'm not dilated far enough, I want an epidural. That's how much pain I was in. I did not want to, and it wasn't that I was in that much pain, it was more that I was exhausted and I didn't want to keep going if I was only 4 or 5 centimeters, or even worse, like still really small. I just couldn't believe how much I've done already, and if she was going to just send me home, I wanted an epidural. I wanted the hospital. So, not knowing how far dilated I was, I said, let's do the safe route to the hospital, because then I can get the epidural if I'm not that far along. So we went to the hospital, and she said, okay, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock. And I was thinking, at this point, it was 6:30. I'm like, I don't know if I can make it till 8 o'clock. So I was like, okay, that gives me an hour to kind of like prepare, get ready, and then leave. And then we'll just kind of stretch that half hour. It doesn't take us half an hour to get to the hospital. It took us like 2 minutes. And then we'll just wait there for her, I guess. So I woke up my fiance. I said, this is it, like, get ready. He showered, he had his coffee, did blah, 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 and then we went to the hospital. At 8 a.m. we got admitted. My midwife was there. She checked me. I was 7 centimeters dilated. So she was like, whoa, you're a lot further along than I thought you would be. And I was like, thank the Lord, because I had done so much laboring that if that number wasn't going to be a good number, I was going to feel defeated, because I had been up for literally days laboring and in a decent amount of pain. So I was really thrilled. So when she told me that, I was like, okay, so like how much longer do you think I'll be in labor for? And she's like, well, like average first time moms, you may have your baby this afternoon / late evening. And I was like, okay, I may want the epidural. And she's like, well, I know you really don't want it. And I was like, you're right, I really don't want it, but I don't know how much further I can go. And she's like, well, let's try a few things. And she was really good at distracting me. So for the first 2 hours between 8 and 10 a.m., I was just walking around the room. I was laboring against the wall, leaning over the hospital bed, which was like elevated at that point. And my fiance was pressing his hands on my lower back with every contraction, and that counter pressure really, really, really helped. And so I was swaying, moaning, kind of moving around the room. They were checking my blood pressure. They were checking baby's heartbeat. They had to do some blood tests apparently that are mandatory in a hospital when you get admitted. So they had to check my iron and a bunch of other things. And then I kind of just walked around. I didn't have any IVs or anything attached to me. I was completely natural. Then around 10-ish, she advised, let's try the tub. And there was a huge, gorgeous tub to either labor or give birth in, or both. So I said, yeah, let's try that with nice warm to hot water. That'd be great. So it was actually more on the warm side, because I don't think you can be in hot water for very long with the baby. Anyways, so I was in there for about an hour-ish. I got to lay like completely flat out on my belly, like just float in the water. That's how big this tub was. It was awesome. That really helped with the back labor. I don't want to call it back labor, because it wasn't. She wasn't in a position that was triggering that. It was just like contractions on my back, I guess. And it wasn't as intense as what I've heard back labor to be. So I'm thankful I didn't have that, but it just took off the pressure, and each contraction that came was a little easier to handle. But when I flipped back onto my butt and I was just kind of like hanging out in the tub, I remember myself saying, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is insane. I'm in so much pain. I'm exhausted. That was the thing. I didn't have the energy to deal with the pain, and she just kept talking me through it. She was really, really good motivating me, and she said, okay, let's try the nitrous oxide. So nitrous oxide is laughing gas, and I would have loved to have that in the tub, which was possible at the birth center, but the hospital policy said that you had to be in the bed to have the nitrous oxide. So I had to move from the tub to the bed, and that transition was horrible. I was shaking. I was freezing, even though I was covered in towels. I was just so far along that my adrenaline was going. I was shaking, and it was a little chilly in the room, so, which helps when you're in active labor. But coming out of a tub, it was not helpful. So I moved to the bed, and I was in like the traditional reclined, sitting on the butt position, and I started inhaling some nitrous oxide. Now, if you guys have never had laughing gas before, I've never, ever, so this is interesting. She said, just take a few breaths in with the contraction and see how you feel. Well, I kind of panicked and was breathing it in way too fast, and I like almost passed out. So I was just like laying here like this. I could hear them talking to me, but I just did not have it in me to respond back. So that kind of freaked out my fiance a little bit. But I came to within a couple of seconds. Like as soon as you take off the mask and you breathe regular oxygen, it goes away. So I didn't put it back on for a while because I was kind of freaked out by it. But as each contraction came over, I was feeling like I needed to push. And the second midwife, the baby midwife, had not arrived yet. So the baby midwife that was with me for this, because the other ones were on call and at a birth, she turns into the main midwife, and then they call someone that I did not know to become the baby midwife. So this lady was on her way. So when I said I wanted to push, she was like, okay, we can start pushing, but we're not going to proactively push and force you to push because she's not here yet. So I turned around, and the bed was like this, and I turned around and I was kneeling, leaning over the bed, so my head and my arms were like this on the bed, kneeling, so my butt was facing the midwife, and I was breathing the nitrous oxide this way. So technically I was still in bed and I was in a squatting position, and with every single push feeling I had, I would just breathe in once with the nitrous oxide, and I would scream back or like moan back or whatever noises I was making into the mask, and then just breathe in and then like do the pushing. My midwife, she didn't mind me doing that at the beginning because we weren't in a rush, and my pushes didn't have to be that efficient. But about after 30-45 minutes of that kind of pushing, the midwife was there, the second midwife was there, and they wanted me on my butt, and they wanted me to stop the nitrous oxide because my pushes weren't as efficient. So now I was in this reclined position, on my butt, like with the legs up, traditional giving birth position, and that's when my pushes really became efficient, and I got her out within like total pushing from like kneeling to this position. It was about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. She was born at 1:03 p.m. So I got out of the tub around 11-ish something. But when I flipped over to my butt right at the beginning and I was trying to push, she did break my water because that did not break on its own. And when she was crowning, I got to feel her head. So it was funny. She asked me if I wanted to feel it, and asked my fiance, and my fiance is like, no, I'm not touching anything down there. And I was like, yeah, I want to feel it, because it's very motivating to feel her head, because you're thinking, oh my gosh, like that's a real baby, she's almost here, I can do this. So it was really, really motivating for me to feel that, and I felt like that really got me through the next few pushes. Oh, baby girl, are you okay? Yeah, she makes noises every once in a while in her sleep, but she's still sleeping. So yeah, she was like I was pushing, and when she crowned, they tell you to stop pushing, and the whole time the midwife was using the olive oil that I brought and was massaging the perineum. So if you guys have a midwife, ask her about that, because I only had a small natural tear and I did not need stitches. She said as long as I keep my legs closed and I'm in bed for 5 days, she said I didn't have to get stitches, so that's what I did. But when she was crowning, they tell you to stop pushing, which that was kind of really hard to do. I didn't know what to do. I was like, she's like, just breathe like and just wait until I say push. And I was like, okay. So then I waited, and then even though your body is telling you to push, you can't push. It's a really weird feeling. And then her head came out, and then she was actually born with what they call a necklace. So she did have the umbilical cord wrapped once around her neck, which they easily just slipped right off. And generally people have to push the rest of the baby out, but baby Emma just came right out. I guess her shoulders and her body was so tiny that she just slipped right out after they got the umbilical cord off. So I didn't have to push the rest of her out. She was just born and put right on my chest. And that was really surreal. I cannot believe still to this day that all happened naturally, exactly how I wanted. Now the midwife that I wanted, or the backup midwife that I wanted, wasn't there, but it was still perfect. Like, there was no complications. So I was holding her, we tried to breastfeed, wiping her off. Actually, she actually pooped on her way out. So when she came out, it just came out as well. So all over me. I was like, thanks, Emma. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But my fiance was so excited and so overwhelmed because he saw everything, that he almost puked, but he didn't. He kept it together. And yeah, our baby girl was born at 103. The placenta delivery was super easy. I totally expected it to be like a whole let's push for another X amount of time. I don't know why I thought it would be more difficult, but I remember holding her, and funny thing, the hospital ceiling, there's like hospital like operating lights in the ceiling that are covered by a glass, so I could sort of see my reflection like from down there in this glass. So I was looking up and I could see her cord kind of coming out of me, and she was kind of like playing with it, the midwife. I think she was like moving it around or something, I don't know, but I saw it moving. And she asked me if I wanted to cut the cord. I said no, because my fiance didn't want to cut the cord either, and I was like, no, you can do that. I kind of got the EBGBs about it. And then so once it stopped pulsing, they cut the cord. So it was delayed clamping, delayed cutting, etc., which is what midwives do. And what else happened? Oh yeah, so the delivery of the placenta, they like felt around the belly a little bit before it came out. Like they didn't push, it was just kind of like they felt around for it, a little firm, but not like they weren't pushing on it by any means. And then she said, okay, I need you to push. And I just pushed the exact same way that I did with Emma. And in like 2 or 3 pushes, it was out. And it felt really weird. It just felt like a really big, soggy something. I don't know. It was really, really, really weird. So yeah, that came out. She asked me if I wanted to see it. I said no, which I kind of regret doing that, because I think there's, this respect thing for the placenta. Like it brought your baby to life and carried your baby and nourished it, and I just kind of tossed it aside. So I kind of feel bad about that, but I was just in no frame of mind to even think about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about in terms of like the delivery. So she was on my chest for a good like hour before they got her cleaned up and did like the checks and stuff. She was born at 7 pounds 0 ounces, so 7 pounds even, 20 inches long, so she's a long girl. And her fingers and toes are pretty long too, so I think she's gonna be pretty tall. I mean, I'm pretty tall, so we'll see. I think that's it. Is there anything else I want to say? So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out, in terms of, not giving into the epidural. My midwife was really good about distracting me for that. And yeah, I don't know, just everything, when I think back on it, I get like flashbacks of a pretty traumatizing, like screaming, moaning in the mask. That kind of traumatized me a little bit, but other than that, I would do it over and over and over again, naturally, exactly like how it went, because I literally got up and left the hospital 2 hours after she was born. So I'm really, really thankful that I had no complications, except for the little tear, which I was on bed rest for 5 days for, which was hard. Like, yeah, you're sore down there, but like automatically open your legs and want to do things, and you can't. I had to keep them shut and not move around for 5 days. So eating in bed and feeding her in bed, change your diaper in bed, like everything was done in bed. So that was quite the recovery. But I'm feeling great now. I will be doing videos on like 24 hours, first 3 days, postpartum, etc. This is kind of just my labor and delivery story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it's everything that you guys wanted it to be. I know everyone's anxious to find out what the labor and delivery is like. And to all those girls who are getting near the end of their pregnancies, good luck. It's not as bad as it seems. I would do it over again naturally in a heartbeat because of how little complications I had, because I didn't have an epidural or Pitocin or anything like that. So I'm really thankful that it ended up being that way. I know it's not the case for everyone, but yeah. So I'm super excited to start this new first time mommy journey with you guys. I do have tons of video ideas. It's just about when I have the time to record them. I will try to get a video up at least once a week until the new year, and then I'll kind of ramp up more videos on a weekly basis. I think having a newborn takes up a lot of time, so I don't want to commit to more than one video a week. But yeah, so I'll check in with you guys later. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, it's at Brooke-Ashley Baby. I do I don't tweet on Instagram. I do post videos and photos of Emma and postpartum pictures and all of that. So follow me there if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already as well, because the videos that are coming up are going to be all about first time mama stuff, postpartum stuff that I didn't know that I should have known, and like newborn care and stuff that I didn't know. So yeah, I can't wait to share that with you guys. Now I'm rambling and this video is like half an hour long. I'm so sorry. Much love. Bye guys.